What's going on, everybody? We're back. Seems like we ain't put out no videos. We ain't did any content. Don, I blame you for why we hadn't put out any content. It's your fault. Seem like the perfect person to blame. Mhm. Yeah, that seems about right. I blame you, Andy. I blame you, Andy. Don, how studying going along? Job opportunities. What's going on? We're gonna talk about some jobs today. We're gonna talk about some jobs today. Talk about some money. You know, simple things. If you don't know who we are, we're Women in Linux. I'm Tam. D's in the back. We've been around now, 7 years, 8 years. We have podcasts. We have merchandise. We have a slew of stuff. On top of that, we are also speakers, international speakers. I can claim that. We also spoke at Blackest Tech conference. It was recorded, but I don't think it was public. And also spoke at um with Simone Lees as well too. She has a conference coming up at the end of the year. I've been invited to speak there, so we'll see how that goes. Need to fill that stuff out. CubeCon is coming up. I need to get in touch with the folks back over there so we can get our thing going there. We have job opportunities, just busy. I hear you, TA. I hear you. Let me pull this up. We're going to get busy today. All the tech layoffs that's happening. Right. So let's open up. I'm gonna do it in reverse. I'm not gonna talk about money first. I'm gonna talk about job opportunities. Then I'll talk about um, a little bit about assets and money. Different approach today. So let's get started. I posted this job in Slack. CAE group lead opportunity. Let me click on it. This is in Orlando. It's a help desk job. The group lead, I think the lead pays 100 and the moderator pays 70. Um, basic alerts, 24/7. So you see here, you got shift work right here. Right, group one works Sunday through Wednesday, and group two works Wednesday through Saturday. Right, you'll rotate that schedule. Cross training the other staff members. I have not seen honestly any troubleshooting. It's just my own insights. Don't trust my insights per se, but that's what I've been seeing. Mid shift earns 10% pay increase, and night shift earns 12% pay increase as well too. And then here's the help desk moderator here. You do get a TSSCI with this particular one. You you do need to get a security plus. At one point, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, a secret clearance with the eligibility of top secret. They're sponsoring clearances for these positions and so forth. And then they have a breakdown of how the shift works. I know who wrote this this job description because I know this person puts everything out there. So yeah. So this is in Orlando. There are some positions in Tampa, if I'm not mistaken, for help desk as well too. Uh, you will. The company is CAE. You'll be on their team. I think there's 12 members on that team that report up. I'll just say it this way: you know who you have. You know who they report up to. Somebody y'all know real well. Um, and I'll leave it at that for CAE, and then we're gonna roll into the next set of jobs. There's also a couple of jobs out there for platform engineers and system engineers. Well, too, those jobs probably pay anywhere 150 base, 200 to 250 total comp for those. And goes back to, and let me see if I could pull it up when I say total comp. Let me find it real quick, and you've seen it before. It's the same little calculator, but spreadsheet. But um, let me pull it up. Remember, I was saying it's like 150 base total comp. So let's say you made 150 base, and I'll blow this up some. So if you made 150 base, your total comp will be 225, right? So this is really your 401k right here. That's the money go into your 401k for the year. And then this money right here between these two right here make up 3750, 37500. But these two right here, you get, if you don't use your PTO and you don't use up all your IBA, you can get that money back. So mm, let's say you may only take one day of PTO, so you got 22,000, and say your insurance cost you for the year may cost you like $3,000. So you'll be with like 11,000 and 22,000. So if we did a calculator, so 33,000 times, let's say, point 0.7 or 0.65, whatever tax bracket you fall into. So you'll get back 23,000 in a lump sum, right? So that's not too bad. That's cash back to you. Now you can elect to say, you know what, I don't want that coming back to me as cash. You can elect to say, I'll put that into my 401k if you want to. You can have it roll into uh, a brokerage, not a brokerage account, but an IRA or something like that, like 7,000 into an IRA or whatever, right? Thank you. So it depends on how y'all want, you want to do that. But that's what the system engineer and the platform engineer, those that's how the structure is, the pay structure is. All right. So there's two jobs that I mentioned so far. So let me do let me do this. I'm waiting for my notes to pop up. See where it's at. Oh, and then pop up. All right, fine. Okay, text edit popped up. Mm. I don't know. You gotta remember this conversation, right? Here's another conversation we had: financial mistakes of job hopping. Talked about that. We talked about this right here. We did a lot of conversation. Things that I've done over the 10 years. We talked about a Red Hat engineer, a Linux support engineer, a Linux system administrator, a Linux system engineer. We talked about job offers. Um, what does that look like if you were going to Pocatello, Idaho? Right? Did a lot of conversations. So now let me get this one. And I'll minimize these. Fly away. Boom. 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 All right. And then this one. And let's make this 48 so we can see. All right. So CAE. Nah, that's not. No, that was just red hat jobs. There wasn't no threat modeling or nothing like that. You have a lead position, and that pays 100K, give or take negotiation there. We have a moderator, and that pays 70 and up. And then we had platform, which is not at CAE. We'll say a minimum pay min. I should do that. That minimum pay could be 150K base. And then system engineer. That could be, it could be 170K base. It could be the same thing, right? So, when I said base, if that system engineer is at 170 base, then that system engineer will get 42,000 put into their 401K every month. That's not your contribution. That's their contribution. And then your PTO and your IBA are the two. The PTO you could get back, the IBA part of that you can get back, depending on if you elect not to take their insurance. Maybe you got a spouse or significant other that takes care of your insurance, and you don't take any PTO, so that'll be 42,500. So with that being said, let's say your payout, because it's called an IBA payout, is 42,500. That means you would get back 30,000 in a lump sum. Like you can get back 30, roughly about 29,750 in a lump sum, right? Um, and your total compensation is 255 at that point. So you could take that 30 and add and say maybe your base is 200. So like I tell people all the time, let's say you're on contract for 200,000. I'm not gonna give you any pay increases. I'm just gonna say you worked that for 7 years. Your total earnings will be 1.4 million. I'm not including your pay raises or your investments. I'm just saying the amount of money that you could make in gross in 7 years. And my assumption is after taxes and so forth, really what you really bring home is roughly half of that. So divide that by two. And that's really probably where you'll be sitting at realistically. Could be. If you don't live above your means, could be more. You'll be sitting at 7. But wait, there's more. Um these particular jobs right here, not these two right here, uh also have an added benefit of paying um by the hour. So if we look at the base of the 170 job, okay, that one pays 81 an hour, 81.42 an hour. And the one at 150 pays 71.84 an hour. All right, so I'm gonna show you how it works. It counts as straight time, but I'm gonna show you what happens. Say say for the month, they may say, hey, for the month of March, your total hours to work is 184 hours. But because you got to get work done, let's say you work over 50 hours a month. Let's say you worked over 50 hours that month, right? So that means you put in 234 hours. All right. For that person who's making that 170, they pull in that month 81.42. That's what we're gonna multiply by. Oops. Times 234. So for that month, they made $19,000. The way this money going to your 401k works is also multiply that by 0.25, and that's what goes into your 401k each that month. So it's not just this them putting in, it is the gross of what you did for that month times 0.25. So you could be working in a month, you could have worked $25,000 that month, and you multiply by 0.25, and that's what went into your 401k for the month, 6,250. So let's say you average around 6,250, and you did that for say you did it for 8 months. In 8 months, it'll be at $50,000. The most between the employer and the employee that can go in that's under 50 is 69,000. Right? Let's just say that you're like, I'm gonna let the employer do all of that. And because there's no limit on the employer. So you can average 57.50 a month for that employer to put in, as long as you maintain What divided by 8142? Yeah. All right. So that's how that will work. So you could get somewhere, you can get more put into your 401k without you doing the work. Did that make sense to everybody? Put a one in the chat if it made sense. Put a two in the chat if it didn't make sense. What I'm showing you is because you work 234 hours a month in that month, and you multiply that by what you get paid an hour, that's your gross. And then you take that and you multiply that by 0.25 because they put 25% into your 401k. That's what you get put into your 401k. And if you take that and let's do that for a whole year, at the end of the year, that's what will be in your 401k, give or take the market. That's the contributions that went in, but then the market and what you got your 401k invested in could be totally different. And not a lot of companies do it. I found 10 so far that do it that way. There are other companies where on let me go back. There are other companies that they automatically pay for your medical and your dental and everything else. So this right here just becomes one big pot of PTO. So that becomes one big pot of 37,500 in this scenario. If we're getting paid 150, and say you don't take any time off, so then that 37,500, because you like I'm floating all my hours. I work weekends and I don't take no time off. If I do take time off, I'm making it up on the weekends. So I want to get my money back. So you could end up back depending on the state and all and so forth, about 26,000. So let's say you got that 26,000 and you've been working this job for 10 years. In another bank account, you can have 260,000 sitting in a bank account. If you don't spend it, if you just like, you know what, put this in a high yield savings account and keep it pushing. Or I'm gonna buy me some CDs or whatever the case may be. You could, in theory, do that. Or you put it in a money market account or something. So yeah. Right? All right, so now let's hit it up. I'm gonna blow this up. But those jobs are hiring. Uh Two of those jobs are on my team. Well, all four are on my team. Um to work. I'll post those. I posted the CAE jobs. I'll post the other two jobs. Um, mm, uh, the work is for 6 years. Are we highly motivated? Absolutely. I just keep it 1,000 with you. It's it's either you're gonna do it or you ain't. that's just that's just that's just how I look at stuff. How I run my team. You either want to work or you don't want to work. If you don't want to work, that's fine. Just not gonna work on my team because we got things we got to do. We got a lot of work, a lot of work. All right, so chief data officer. I went and looked up the highest paying IT jobs. This is from February, January, and it kind of goes in line with what I've been seeing across the board. You'll see as we get further into this what I'm talking about. All right, so chief data officer. The salary range is from 300,000 to 400,000. Chief product officer, 300 to 400. A CTO around about 280. Now, this is where I crack up at 280 plus, right? This is where I crack up at, right? Because people are like, when people see these numbers right here, 225, let's change this. Let's say somebody did make a base of 200,000. Let's say somebody did make a base of 200,000. The total comp is 300,000, right? But you and I know I've shown y'all jobs that pay 250, 300, 400. We've seen them, a million. We've seen them, right? Now, when people say, "Oh, you 200 level or you're at 250 or 300," you're some type of at that point you're some type of manager, or you're some type of executive, and that comes from a place, and don't shoot the messenger, but that comes from a place of ignorance. And the reason why I say it comes from a place of ignorance, because I can show you jobs as a DevSecOps engineer, as a site reliability engineer, that you're not a manager and they pay that kind of money. And if you look at the grand scheme of things, I mean, people don't want to be honest. They want to live in Delulu land. If you look at the grand scheme of things, this 200, 250, I'm sorry. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I understand people don't have jobs right now, but it's just really like a small blip on the map to me. Because when I go look at when and I guess you just got to be sitting in the rooms when I'm listening to people talk. Oh yeah, we just gave this company over here 15 million, 40 million, 80 million, right? And people be like, "Oh, you know, when we talking about 200,000 to 500,000, but these companies, uh, maybe small, maybe 10 people, 300 people, 50 people, whatever the case may be, are getting millions." So really, you're just it's just a blip on the map to me, just to me. And what I'm saying is, don't get blindsided by the fact that when somebody says it's 200,000 or 250, and you think that it's an executive. It's not. It can be, but it's not all the time. That's all I'm saying. Right? So a VP of engineering, 250,000, a director of analytics, 225 to 250, a DevOps engineer, 150 to 190, a cloud architect, 220, an AI architect, 220, a data scientist, 150 to 190, a cybersecurity director, 250, a blockchain developer, 170. Every last one of these jobs from 6 all the way through 11 I have talked about. They don't have quantum on here. They don't have edge on here. They don't have high performance computing on here. These jobs, all, there's no way. There's just no way that in on the infrastructure side, Linux, Ansible, satellite server, cloud, high performance computing, edge computing, that you shouldn't at some point be over 200. And don't let nobody talk you out of it. The people that tell you that you can't do that, or that ain't something, that's not normal. Because I get in debates all the time on YouTube, because people be like, it's not as you're working yourself, you're pricing yourself out in the market for dating, or blah 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 blah. And I'm like, this is how I look at it. If you went to school, if you got certifications, and you studied, and you went to apply for a job, do you say, no, don't pay me that kind of money, because nobody won't date me if I make that kind of money? If they say, hey, for this position, you interviewed well, you did this, you did that, we recognize your degrees, we recognize your credentials, we recognize your success, and we're gonna go above and beyond, and we're gonna offer you $350,000, total comp 460, a $30,000 sign-on bonus. Do you look and say, I can't take that, because if I take that, no one's gonna date me. I can't have that. Who what did you study for? I just be wanting to know, fellas, what did you study for? Didn't y'all study to get, what's the end goal? Like, what is the end goal? Don't you study to, like, get paid? Like, I just be having a question. Didn't you study to get paid? I know I did. I studied not just to get the job, but I want the maximum amount of money in that up front. I love it when recruiters say to me, the sky is the limit for the sky is the limit for your pay. Or they say it's open. And I say, what does open mean? They say, whatever number you throw out there. Oh, okay. That means you're gonna have to pay, but you got a pay range in mind. And you know that in order to get the person that you need, you're gonna have to pay to play. Right? You gotta pay to play. Right? So in order to pay to play, you gotta make not just the work enticing, but the pay gotta be enticing. Right? So what do you do in that case, in that scenario? Somebody call you and they say it's open and so forth. I got some jobs up here. I'm gonna show you these things that hit my inbox because people don't believe that these things are out there. These things hit my inbox all the time. All right. So if somebody say it's open, go to your top end of your bracket, your number. What's your number? What's your golden handcuffs? What's gonna seal the deal? What's that look like for you? What does that package look like for you? Y'all got to learn how to start putting packages together. Like, you may not get your money in the bonus. You may get the money in employee on stock. You may get it in RSUs. You just got to be careful with those. You got to figure out where you want to be at. If you know you finna ride this thing out, like when you get this job, you say you're gonna be there at least 4 years. Go on and ride it out for them 4 years and get your money. Now, I'm not gonna say in them 4 years there's gonna be some BS and there may be some layoffs. But you know this going in. You know it's gonna be some BS and it's gonna be some layoffs. So you know what? Pay me up front, my G. Pay me up front. Don't be like at the end of it when they lay you off or you don't like the job and you be like, hey, Scooby, get your money up front. That way you like, you know what? It was a good run. I worked this job for, say you worked the job, you worked it for 3 years, you made $200,000 base for 3 years. You got a total comp coming out. I mean, you have made $600,000. How many people you know in your lifetime that has made $600,000 in 3 years just on the strength of their just of who they are? I'm not even talking about being an entrepreneur or nothing like that. And some of them don't even make it. But I'm just saying, uh, how many people you know that has made $600,000 in 3 years? Gross. Just gross. Right? And it's okay for you to talk your shit. It's okay. Stop letting people beat y'all down about being successful, about being employers wanting your skill sets, you being able to maneuver and go. Why be upset about that? Why be mad? Why be mad about that? Yeah, fast no flow, sure, right? It's easy money. Fast no flow. No one wants to believe 200,000 is easy money. No one wants to believe that. They fight you tooth and nails about that. So I pulled up an old well, it's not old. Let me make it bigger. Okay, this was a job that was sent over to me. Hey, saw your information online, so forth and so on. They need three system engineers. The total comp range for these roles average between 250 to 470K. The CTO were brought over in an overhaul, and this is in New York, hybrid in New York, 4 days on site. Make it current and ready for the future. The budget is here, so he needs senior engineers, ideally for the financial services, private equities. There's a lot of technologies mentioned below, but they need somebody that understands. Get all hands on deck. Um, Pretty much be on the keyboard. AD, network and firewall, exchange experience, image management, rollout, so forth, user acceptance, Redshift, data analytics. Azure Remove AD and Azure Cloud is going to be AWS and a little bit of on-prem. AD for the laptops. We'll need to use train. We'll need use training accept. Yeah, I guess user training and acceptance. IT team is 10. The company is about 100. So they needed somebody for Active Directory, DNS, DHCP, Azure infrastructure, 365, Windows, Linux server patching, desktop, laptop management, Microsoft Intune, Microsoft Defender, mobile device management, Apple Business Manager, voice over IP, Teams, VPN, Azure DevOps, GitHub, AWS and Azure, IT infrastructure. So this is basically the job. And they had three positions open for that from 275 to 400. I talked to the person and I said, what's the 400 range look like? What are they looking like? Right? What is that as? Is that a senior position over the overall team and so forth? Or is that there was like that's really they know that they can't find nobody that wants to move to New York or want to be in New York and do this type of work for less than that. It's like so the person is willing to pay. They're willing to pay. All right, so in-depth knowledge of Active Directory, DNS, DHCP, Azure, laptop experience and management, CI/CD. Let me know. Here's the person. They reach out. This person right here. When they reach out to me, their jobs are usually between 250 to 700,000, and we've been going back and forth with each other for years. 250 to 700,000 is when every time it's a lady. Every time she hit me up, I be just starting another position. I'm like, how long this position for? She was like, well, tell me about your role. And then I tell her about it. She was like, well, this so I just got with this person. I don't really know how they work. And I'm like, but this one was a good one. This was sent over the other day. 250 to 375, 400. Could you do the job? If this dropped in your inbox, are you ready to go? If this dropped in your inbox, are you ready to go? I had to cut and paste it from my email. All right, let's go on. Reddit. How many of y'all have looked that are looking for jobs? Have y'all looked at Reddit at all? And looked at their jobs from corporate technology to engineering. Have you looked at their jobs? Right? I'm just curious because I went over there and looking at their jobs just to see what they had out there. They have another software engineering jobs. Let me go to corporate IT. Cause I know y'all be on Reddit all the time. See, the corporate IT, they only had India. Oops, it's not going back to it. View openings. All right, there we go. People, culture, community, data science. Their data science roles. They specifically got that separated out, and they remote. And their data science roles are remote. So I don't know if y'all looked at Reddit or not. You can go on Blind to see what Reddit is paying as well too. All right, so Parsons. How many of y'all have heard of Parsons? They have a space ops system and services deputy program. This one sits in Colorado, but I really wanted to highlight Parsons. They have 1,100 jobs that they have posted on here, right? And then they got the compensation, what they normally average. They got some up to 240 in here, but here's their jobs. This is on the ladders, and they just have different locations. I didn't pick a location. I just picked a company just to see what they had out there. So Parsons is another one. This one is Oracle, looking for a senior principal engineer from 96 to 251. It got reposted 3 weeks ago. It's in Broomfield, Colorado. It's in the technology center in Broomfield. So let's click on Oracle Corporation. They got 3,500 jobs listed on the ladders. And let's look at their compensation. Looks like they got a little bit more up there, about 250. Looks like they average around here. They offer stock when you're talking about Oracle. They offer stock. All right, so software, telesales, product. You see their product manager all the way up to 251. And you can sort by state in here. I just pulled what they're offering, right? NetSuite, program manager, Broomfield senior technical program manager, building Oracle cloud infrastructure. It's 141 pages. I'm not gonna sit through this. I just want to point out to you where jobs are at that you may not be looking. So let me go back to Parsons. So here's Parsons' website. You can go check them out. See. Parsons has 19,000 people across 6 continents. How many of you have heard of Parsons? Yep, they pay well. It's another little company that pay well too, Fat Snow Fluff. They sit right there in Is it Chantilly? Yeah, they sit right there in Chantilly. If you're coming from the big 3-letter agency over there in Westfields, and you go straight, like you're going back, and let me see, you go back around, you come back like you're going back to the highway. Not that first part where you come and you make that left, but all the way back. It's back by a hotel that I stayed at. It's a little company that's right over there in the corner. I can't think of the name of them right now. But it's this little company. Nobody really pay attention to them. All their jobs that they have is 300. All their jobs that they had. Nah, it's not Mantech. Uh-uh. No, it is not Mantech. I'm looking it up now to see if I see it. It's not Vencore Citizens. No, it's not Agilix. It's very rare that I see stuff come from this company. Mm-mm. When I think about it, and I will think about it, it'll come back to me, and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, 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 that's the company name." Mm, no, it's not. It's not like a SAIC or a Mantech or nothing like that. It ain't nothing like that. It'll come to me. All right. So then we had this job here. This is with Capital One, right? So Capital One is in Richmond and they in Charlottesville, and they're also in other locations like Texas and just different areas, right? So this particular job is a DevOps manager, and it's full time, fast paced. They're more. They could be more cutting edge on their side for DevOps for engineers. I know a manager that's over there. I interviewed over there, and I was like, maybe it could be. They weren't hitting my marks the way I wanted to. So they got a senior business controller 278, data engineer. Their salaries always seem kind of nah to me. They like they didn't hit me like that. Not for what I know you can get out in the market. I'm like, dude, we can make plenty of $100,000 more in the market. That's my thoughts. All right, Essential Federal Services is another one. This one is a senior DevOps. It's in Huntsville. It's a manager, 131 to 269. Yeah, Capital One always cheap. You'll never hear me talk about them either. So let's go to salaries. They got 500 jobs, 508 jobs out there. So a system administrator in DC, 88,000 to 178. That's a sysadmin. That's probably Windows sysadmin. A Linux DevSecOps administrator, 62 to 178, and it's remote, right? And it's remote. Cloud system administrator, 83 to 1. Let's look at this one right here. See if I can get it on the page. 1 to 2 years of Linux experience in the cloud. Amazing. Experience with scripting, Python, PowerShell, Ansible, Terraform, GitLab. That sounds familiar. Experience with the shell, Bash script. Oh, what do you say? Experience with operating system services, SSH. Yeah, SSH, FTP, so forth. Strong understanding of virtualization concepts, so forth and so on. CAS, whatever. Clearance, secret or clearable to a DoD tier 5. Meaning you don't have to come in. We'll get your clearance for you. And they going up to $178,000 with 1 to 2 years of Linux experience. And you mean tell me y'all won't go get your RHCA your RCSA and your RECE, you don't want to work. And it's remote. And it's remote. And they gonna get you a clearance. Fill out that paperwork. Tell them you want 150. Tell them you want 178 and let them come down. Tell them you want the 178 and let them come down. And if they say, "Oh, the job don't pay that much, we only go up to 150," you probably may be making $60,000 or $70,000 right now. You get paid 150, you double your income. You already used to living off the 50, 60, or $70,000. What's the problem? You sit in that job, you may sit in that job 3 to 5 years. It's essential federal, so you can bounce around on the federal contracting side. So let's say you bounce around. Let's go back. Let's say one. Let's do this because normally they come in the middle. Where is it at? 60. I'll do 60. I'll do 67,000 plus 179. All right. So let's do that. 67,000 plus 179,000. And then divide that by 2. This is more than likely where they're going to start their offer at, is at 123,000. You're making 60 or 70. You know they can go up to 178. They just going to offer you 125 probably to start out with. You counter, right? You hit them with the 150. And they may come back and say yes or no, or counter and say 147 200. They may do something like that. They may come back with 147 200. Hold on, let me do this. 147 200. They may come back with that. And let's divide that by 12. That means your gross take home a month is $12,000. Right? So we do 147 200. Oops. And multiply that by 0.7. You sitting at home, your real take home is going to be about 86 a month. Divide that by 2. So you get paid $42.93 a month. Let's say your bills average about 5 or 6,000. You may get you may be at 4,000 a month. But my point is, at that range, at 147, I'm just guesstimating here. I'm not saying this is facts. And you work that for, let's say you stay at, I got a sister that's been there 20, 30 years. Let's say you did stay there 5 years. The 736,000. Now that's what you can do in 5 years, right? While you're there, you get the certs, you get the clearance, you do on different projects, you go lead stuff, you build up your resume, you get a name out there, you go talk at conferences. In 5 years, you're senior, you're a rock star, right? Then you turn around and you say, okay, in 5 years, I know I've grossed. That's just on me. That's not on my mama and them. That's just on me. I done made $700,000 gross, give or take, right? I'm not including bonuses. I'm not including pay raises. I'm just saying I'm just gonna keep it flat. I'm just gonna say 736,000. We can round up to 740. 740. All right, cool. 740. You did it. You got 5 years under your belt. You know, led a couple of teams. You know, cussed a couple of folks out. A couple of folks done doubted you. You still kept true to the game. You kept building. You now start learning how to manage your money. See, you got to make the money, right? And then you got to manage the money. Like, it's a difference than getting It's a difference in getting a paycheck at 50,000 and 150,000. And people say it's not, it is, because it's a mental thing. Right? You got to understand, okay, at 50,000 I was doing this, but at 150 I may be still doing that. But I don't care what nobody say. People are like, "Oh, I'm not going to have lifestyle creep." You may not have lifestyle creep to the extreme, but you're going to buy you something. You're gonna go buy those Bose headphones. You're gonna go buy that new iPhone. You may buy it used. You may go buy a used car. In fact, you may be like, you know what? I ain't never been to New York before. I'm gonna plan a trip and go to New York for the weekend. I've never done that before. You gonna do some things. It's just what you do. It's not a bad thing. Like, people make it seem like it's bad for you to enjoy the fruits of your labor. You just didn't say go overboard. I didn't say go buy a $700,000 house. I didn't say that. I said you could go get you a place to live in. And say you go buy that $700,000 home. All right, 5 years, 740. You rolling, you chilling, you've upgraded it from that Chevy Volt to a Tesla Model 3. You got your insurance on there. You splurge a little bit by going out to eat. You splurge a little bit, you take a trip, you go do some things. You give your mama and your daddy and them some money. You give your niece a nice birthday gift or what have you. You get yourself a nice gift, and now you back at it. You like, you know what? I did that. What else can I do? What else can I do? How much more can I grow? Well, if I know I've been doing this, so maybe you do the 147 over the years and you hit 5 years, you hit 165, 170 in 5 years, right? You grow, you hit the 160, 170. All right. When you go to make your next jump after them 5 years, no one can come back to you and offer you a job for 125. You're just not gonna do it. I don't care. Listen, you got your nest egg put up, you still working. You If someone come to you in 5 years and offered you what you made 5 years ago, you just not gonna do it. Now, you might do it if you doing that because you want to be overemployed, but in theory, you just not gonna do it. You're gonna always want to grow more. You want more than what you had. The whole goal is to look forward. That's what you're doing. So now you're like, boom, like the guy said on Pop the Balloon last night. So like, boom. Now you are now senior. You've added some new friends. You've changed your social circles. You're not going to eat at Gladys Chicken and Waffles anymore. You're going to the Upper East Side to sit on the rooftop. You're not going to the regular club anymore. You're only going when they got certain entertainers that may come to town. You're going to specialty things. You're going to do some things a little different. Why? Because in those social circles where you were at that 50, 60, 123, some of them may not understand who you're trying to become or who you become. You're like, dude, I got to protect myself, my assets, my friend group. They were like, like we getting ready to go to the club and they want to ride and smoke weed in the car and drink before they get there. You be like, that's not me no more. We drink at the house, we smoke at the house, we can Uber. It's just some things you're just not gonna do no more. You're not gonna be open. You're not gonna be riding around with the open bottle. You ain't gonna be like, you know what? This is just water in here when it's a whole thing of vodka. You ain't gonna do that. You're not. It's just not. You're just not gonna do that no more. Some of you may still, you just not. The reason why you're not is because now you think twice about what you got to lose because you got a new lifestyle, right? The money is hitting your account. Just imagine. I'm gonna just throw it out there. Imagine you working at home. You got two jobs, and every time and every week you getting a paycheck, right? You getting a paycheck from one job, and then another one from another job because they all pay every 2 weeks, not twice a month. So every 2 weeks, you getting one job that's paying you 12,000. You getting another job that's paying you 15,000. You getting a bonus. You getting your team did well. They send in the team little trinket boxes with candles or a hey congratulations gift, blah 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 blah. You getting massages sent to you, you get this, you getting that. You're not gonna want to be in them circles because you gonna want to know, you in your mind like, if I could do this, if I can average by myself, if I can average by myself 35 to $40,000 a month, can I do 100? Can I do 80 to 100? And how do I do that? Do I what I need to do that? Okay. All right. So I got the gist of what I can do, but what else can I do? And can I incorporate this and make this much more consistent? Right? All right, boom. So when you get to that level, you're going to start looking at strategically what jobs you want to work, strategically what type of work you want to do. Strategically, you're going to look at where you want to be, who do you want to socialize with, what events do you want to go to, who's you start paying attention to the neighborhoods you're in. You start paying attention to the neighborhoods that you live in, the neighborhoods that your coworkers live in. Then you start paying attention to everything because now everything looks like money and an asset, and you need to be a part of it. And you trying to figure out, how can I maximize my time? How can I maximize my day so I can go live that? Now, some people are like, you know what? I don't want to be a part of none of that. I just want to go to work and go home. I'm not interested in none of that. I'm cool with my you could pay me 147 for the next 15 years. Some people are cool with that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just know that's not your people. That's not your people. Right? So the question becomes is, who are your people? Who are you? Do you have ambition? Has it soured? Are you mentally taking care of yourself? Are you mentally keeping yourself abreast on things you need to do? What about your physical? What about how you take care? Listen, and people don't believe this. How you take care of your car is a straight reflection on who you are. I'm just telling you. If you got a nasty, dirty car, probably nasty, dirty yourself. People say you look at a person's car and it says a lot about them. It's not it's not about that. It's about how they take care of their car. So I be looking for people cars to be dirty or got food in it. Did you see that clip where the girl said they was standing outside of one of the strip clubs and the girl had roaches in the car? Did y'all see that? With the roaches coming out and around in the car? I don't want no roaches in my car. Why you got roaches in your car? Now I can see a ant getting in that. Yeah, I can see that. But a full blown cockroach. No, no, ma'am. That's not okay. Clean your car. Keep your car clean. Stay healthy. Stay down for the cause. Take care of you. If you want to go be an entrepreneur, nothing wrong with it. Use your skills that you have to go be that entrepreneur. If you don't want to be an entrepreneur based on your skill set, keep working. Just make sure you always keep increasing your income. Now, keep armor on like, yeah, you got to. All right, so now let's get back to the video. Let's get back to the thingy. All right. So, Essential Federal, a Linux DevSecOps administrator, remote, 178,600. Let's click on it. I want to see if they talked about anything else in here. No. So then let's go look at Essential Federal benefits. Look, hold on. I might have clicked too. Boom. I don't want to sign in the Glassdoor because they be wanting you to sign in. I don't want to do that. We're gonna go with this one. Okay, base pay, bonuses, 401k match. They do a 6%. They do 6% dollar for dollar up to 6%. You can purchase stock, so they allow you to buy shares of the company at a 15% discount. You can contribute 10% of your pay towards the purchase of essential shares. You automatically receive basic level of coverage of life and disability. Performance equity, that is, performance equity awards are given to people at levels 6 and above to reward, recognize, and retain our highest performing individuals and recognize significant career milestones. Voluntary equity investment program, VEIP, that enables eligible leaders to purchase essential shares monthly and receive 50% restricted share unit RSUs matching grant at the end of the program. And then financial education, you get access to personalized financial education platform for you and your family. You get PTO, they give you 13 to 27 calendar days per year. They have a well-being program as well, EAP, mental health ally, family well-being, your physical well-being, vision insurance, dental insurance, more perks. We invest $1 billion a year in our continuous learning and professional development programs, specialized certification, deep tech learning workshop, online games, hackathons, and so forth. So that is at Essential Federal. That's at Essential Federal, right? I think I was right here. Yeah. So Essential Federal. I would, if I were you all that's out in the audience that's looking, this is remote. I will apply for this job. Here. Here's this. Here it is. I give it to you. I'll let D post it. And they working with Oracle. Yep. And they also have jobs in Colorado. So they push that pay range higher for you in these areas. So if you're in DC or New York, if you're in the DMV area, most definitely apply. If you're in the other areas, they probably gonna hit you with the 125. In Colorado, they have to post this job. They have to post the pay range for that job. That's why it's out there. If you're ever looking for jobs and want to get an idea of pay range, just go look at Colorado and any other states that have them publicly. All right. So we talked about this job, the senior system engineer, 250 to 400,000. Right. So now let's get into this conversation. So I was looking around and I was looking at this big thing on Listerine and the Listerine royalties. Have y'all been keeping up with that? Listerine royalties. And I was like, what is that about? So let me blow it up. What is being sold? A royalty interest in the gross sales of Listerine antiseptic. The royalty interest is derived from the 1881 agreement between the inventor of Listerine formula and the original distributor of the Listerine product. The royalty agreement calls for a flat rate royalty on worldwide Listerine sales for as long as Listerine is sold. The agreement has been in effect since 1881, and in 1959, its perpetual nature was upheld. So one buyer made 79,000. One buyer made and they rejected. So I was looking at this and I was like, royalties on, you could buy royalties. Like, what does that look like? And here it says US generated royalties are paid monthly based on the prior month sale. Royalties from the sales in all other countries are paid on a quarterly basis. These sale royalties are calculated on the gross sale of Listerine antiseptic by Johnson & Johnson. You'll notice a spike in payments in the first month of every quarter. Then they say recently a larger share of Listerine was sold via this asset here. So I was like, Listerine and royalties. This is interesting to me. So then I started thinking, I was like, well, what other royalties are out there? The people making millions off of Listerine royalties, a little known provision in a 100-year-old contract. I'm like, I know I need to invest in Listerine. My mama been using Listerine since I was 5, and she go through 2 big bottles of Listerine a week. I know she needs some royalty. She need to get royalty checks for Listerine. Let's talk about it. All right. So Catherine Schweitzer has worked at I guess the Beard or Bard Foundation of nonprofit based in Buffalo, New York. Her organization has relied in part on a particular income stream, the mouthwash Listerine. I mean, put a one in the chat if you knew Listerine had royalties. Put a one in the chat if you knew Listerine had royalties. I know I didn't. All right. Every year, a small portion of global revenue from the iconic mouthwash trickles back into the bank account of the Bard or the Beard Foundation. And it says here, for every 2,016 ounces of Listerine sold, approximately 144 bottles, Johnson & Johnson pays $6 to its Listerine royalty holders. Most of the time, the Beards Foundation, 0.5% share is in the Listerine royalty trust, totals to about 120,000 per year in passive income, split into quarterly installments by Johnson & Johnson. For the most of the career, she didn't know, Schweitzer didn't know how the foundation had acquired Listerine stake in the first place. How did they acquire Listerine stake? Right? Had no clue. Right? Now, I'm going to pause there because y'all can read this. And we're going to talk about how to invest in royalty income. There's really, let's see, uh, so I have started doing my search. And I saw this. I came across. I have not done any investigation into these places, so don't quote me on none of this. I just found it interesting. Royalties as an investment, as an alternative investment on the royalty exchange, and then they have a listing of just different royalties to get into, from music to there's your Listerine, to Switch, to Lil Dicky's the rapper, music. You may want to get in on some royalty. I don't know. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. Case of Mary J. Blige and Foxy Brown. I'm just curious. Highest open bidder 15,000 22 days ago. So you can make money off of these songs. I'm just curious. Let's play this game. I'm gonna get back to it, but I'm just so curious. Hey, look, if she had My Life, her album up here for royalty, I was gonna invest. I was gonna invest, but it got a 10-year term, life or term rights, for Usher, Mary J. Blige, and Chris Brown, Mary J. Blige, Jaheim, Dinah, and songwriter royalties 30-year term. Just, hey, go in here and just take a look. But let's get back to it. All right, investing in a royalty income can provide long-term returns to investors seeking to fund retirement, or diversify portfolio beyond stocks and fixed income securities. Owning rights to royalties provides a steady income that tends to be insulated from fluctuations in the equity and bond markets. Investors can acquire rights to royalty income by purchasing shares of royalty trusts or bidding on a royalty auction exchange. Right? And it said if you wanted to do it with through smart asset, there you go right there. But let's skip down to this right here. So a royalty is a payment received by the owner of an asset from someone else for the use of the asset. Often the asset consists of intellectual property. For example, the owner of a patent may receive a royalty payment from a manufacturer of a product for each unit made or sold using that patent. Other examples of royalties from intellectual property include payments for use of patents, trademarks, and copyrighted materials such as book, films, or musical compositions. In addition to intellectual properties, oil and gas and mining leases generate royalty paid for the use of natural resources. Royalty income is considered passive income by the IRS. This means it's generally taxed at capital gain tax rates, which are usually lower than the rates paid by individuals for earned income, such as wages and salary. Types of royalty income: oil and gas. Owner of land minerals such as gold, silver. Inventor receives royalty payments for licensing. Owners of valuable trademarks. composers of songs that are for each time the composition is publicly performed, streamed, downloaded, played, or on the radio, used in a film or TV score, or sold as a CD or record. Movie, TV writers, directors, producers, performers, publishers, business funding, and so forth, right? So they just give you a list of that. Then they come down here and they say, how do you invest in a royalty trust? And then they talk about how to go through on auction sites in order to invest. And then give you some investing tips, but there's probably more out there on this that you could probably find at your local library or bookstore or what have you. But again, I'm just pointing out there's just another way to make some long-term money. And here's one for the Listerine on the exchange. I thought I found it interesting. That was my take on it. All right, let's go over here. All right, so the IRS did they finally did their change. Right now you could take $1,000 out of your 401k for an emergency. I don't know why they did 1,000 and just not let people take 5,000 for an emergency. But if you got an emergency, you can take 1,000 out. All right. Yeah. Am I signed in? It should be. Oh, hold on. Let me get signed in, and then I'm gonna finish this up because I got a video I want us to watch, but I'm not gonna take. I'm logged in. I don't know why it's just doing that. Maybe we'll log out. Market watch. It may be on this one. Let me see. No, let me log out of that one. Let me log into this one. Okay, back in the game, coach. All right. So, all right, under the Secure 2.0 legislation and recent rulings by the IRS, you can withdraw $1,000 once a year for your retirement from your retirement account for emergencies, defined as meeting unforeseeable immediate financial needs relating to necessary personal or family emergency expenses. While this gives people more options to battle emergency, it is not one that should be taken lightly. It's nice to have flexibility, more options, but it doesn't mean you should. Generally speaking, funds for retirement are meant for retirement. Don't tap retirement funds for an emergency. It's almost good in your mind to say that money is untouchable. Yeah, go ahead. All right, so here they go. They say there's a fine print to the rules. You can't allow your total retirement balance to fall below $1,000. You have 3 years to put the money back into the retirement account, or you'll pay income taxes on the withdrawal. You can only withdraw more funds if you have paid back the previous withdrawal. You also your employer retirement plan must allow the emergency withdrawal. Not all retirement plans may offer this option. It says, but if you don't tap your 401k for emergency fund, where do you get the money to tackle the emergency? Consider this: more than a third of the US adults couldn't afford a hypothetical expense of $400 using cash or its equivalent, like using a credit card. They'd pay off in the next full month, right? Onset options for emergencies might be better, such as taking funds from a Roth IRA, where you can draw contributions made to a Roth penalty and tax free. Also consider a 401k loan over the distribution. Of course, no one thinks tapping the retirement account is such a terrible idea when life problem hits. So Read the fine print is what they're saying on that one. I agree with that, but that just know that the option came available. So then I got to looking at like where are the wealthy Gen Xers moving to, and where the wealthy millennials are moving to, and what's considered wealthy. Here they're saying millennials earn higher than average at about 84,000 annually. The U.S. earns about 75 on average. U.S. folks, but millennials are slightly up at 84. But millennials eclipse the median, with some households bringing in 200,000 or more, earning the classification of high earners by per the IRS. High earners per the IRS. All right. So what are high earners from the IRS? Where's that? Um, all right. So IRS defines a high income earner as a taxpayer who reports 200,000 or more in total positive income on their tax return. Total positive income is the sum of all positive amounts shown in different courses of income reported on an individual tax return. That's what they call a high income. Now I'll pull over so you can see what I read. Oh, there you go, right there. Here's what I was reading right here. As of June 27th. 200,000. You got the top 1% at 682. I'm looking to see if they got a listing. Let me look here. Yeah, they don't have 200,000 in this document. But that's what they say. The IRS is saying 200,000. You're a high income earner. All right, so let's go back over to. All right, where are they moving to? Florida and Texas gained the most wealthy millennial households. When looking at inflow and outflow of wealthy millennials, Florida had the highest net immigration of high earners in this group, in this age group, with 6188 households. Texas ranked a net gain of 5150. 51, 51, 51, 50. Trailing behind North Carolina with a net of 1970. Whether millennials have a preference for Colorado and Georgia, I can see. In both states, the number of high earning millennial households make up 87% of the net gain of all high earning households that moved to each. Colorado gained 1227 wealthy millennial households out of the total gain of 1403 earning 200,000 or more per year. Georgia 895 of the 1024 wealthy households that moved in were millennials. Overall, Colorado ranked fourth, and Georgia ranked seventh for most wealthy millennials moved. Wealthy millennials left New York and California, but however, Utah has the highest percentage of wealthy households that are millennial. Out of 94,000 households, make over 200,000 out of 94. I mean 94,000 households. That's a lot. Washington State had the second highest rate of millennials at 24.6, while New Mexico had the lowest at 15%. Wealthy millennials in these states earned the most on average. Wyoming, Nevada, and Arkansas. Right? Where are they moving to? So here, inflow 11, outflow 5,000. So this is where they're going. Florida, Texas, North Carolina, and Colorado. And probably in Colorado or in Boulder and Aurora area. I wouldn't be surprised at Colorado Springs, but probably more Colorado area. Top 10 wealthiest millennials, top 10 states wealthy millennials are moving to, and they break down the number. So if you're wondering where people are going and where they're moving to, that's where they're moving to on the millennial side. All right. No one wants to believe this, but the US has more 401k millionaires than ever, even though people feel the economy isn't doing that well. It took a beating for the past 2 months. It came back, then we lost it. That's why you gotta take your wins when you can. Okay, so the average American couple has saved this, blah blah blah. All right, a new report from Fidelity Investments shows that a record of almost 500,000 people in the U.S. with over $1 million in their 401k. That's a 2.5% increase from last quarter. The number of IRA millionaires also went up by 6%. So what is happening? How are retirement savings growing with this economy feel? I could tell you, if you're getting 50,000 put away into your 401k and you're there for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, that's one way. It's always good to have somebody help you out. All right. So those who have been putting money into their retirement plans for 15 years or more now have an average balance of 550. They see the rewards of sticking to their savings plans and setting aside 17% of their income. And we get down here to the goody. Rising inflation. We got 8 comments. Yeah, they look like mostly haters on those comments. That's what I'm getting. All right. Last but not least, I'm just gonna mention this and I'm not gonna talk about it. But here what is the rule of 55 and how does it work? I've talked about this extensively, but you can go into look into this. But I do want to look at I think, yeah, I got 20 minutes to look at this video and then we can end the show. Put a 1 in the chat. Make sure you like. Put a 1 in the chat if you're feeling what we're talking about. Put a 2 in the chat if you haven't liked what we was talking about. I thought it was pretty good, especially the royalties part. But I'm biased. Let me get my correct screen for sound. I posted this in the Slack channel in Creating Wealth.
The middle class trap is defined as being a.
This guy, he used the rule of 72T. However, he's 47 and he retired with 2.5 million in his 401k and purchased real estate throughout the years. And he was scared. He talks about in here he was scared to retire and so forth. But there's some good gems in here that I think that you all can listen to and just understand, right? I'm not telling you to do it. I'm just trying to shorten again your I'm trying to shorten your time that you work and maximize it so that way you can do whatever it is you want. Some of you may retire between 45 to 55. Some may continue to 65. But when I say retire, that doesn't mean you stop working. It just means you may get a chance to go do something else that you've been wanting to do. All right. So let's get into it. I'm a fast forward past Mindy here. She be a little bit too excited for me, for my blood. He's a little bit more calm to me.
Is attainable for everyone, no matter when or where you're starting, or whether all your wealth is in your 401k. Today, we're going to talk about what the 72T rule is and substantially equal periodic payments and a lot of other jargon in the context of withdrawing money from retirement accounts. And we're going to talk about an actual use case of this, which is so rare that we have found in Eric here out in the wild. So Eric, thank you so much for hopping on today. We're super excited to chat with you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me on your show today.
All right. The rule of 72T is one of the ones that I talked about too, right? 72T, rule of 55. Put those down in your notes. Reach out to a certified financial planner. Go do your research first before you reach out to them. Come up with a plan if you want to see yourself maxing out your 401k, your IRAs, your assets, your brokerage account, and so forth and so on. All these things so that you can retire at 45 to 55 while you can still walk and travel, while you can still whip out and use your passport and sit in the seat. Well, nobody had to wheelchair you to the actual plane, right? While you still have life in you to celebrate your rewards. The whole goal is for you to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Whether you enjoy your fruits of the labor by giving it away to people or traveling or whatever. I just don't want you to wait till you 65, 70 years old and you're like, yeah, I think I'll retire now. Or you gotta wait to that time to retire. So just trying to get you to hear. All right, let's go.
Awesome. Well, let's start things off by talking about substantially equal periodic payments and the 72T and how these terms, what they have to do with accessing the money in a 401k early before traditional retirement age.
You know, I was really curious about how to access my money in retirement before I reached the age of 59 and a half. As I got a little bit closer and closer to the early retirement that I was dreaming about, I Googled, how do I access that money early without penalty? And that's when I found the 72T option that popped up. And I read about it and learned about it.
A bit.
And so that was always in the back of my mind. And I actually had a conversation with Fidelity as I planned my early retirement. And they said that that was a good option for me and that they didn't have any issues with me utilizing the 72T. And what the 72T is, it's a really powerful option for people who have well-funded retirement accounts and do want to retire early, because it allows penalty-free withdrawals from your IRA and your other tax advantage retirement accounts like your 401k and 403bs. The IRS rule allows account holders to benefit from retirement savings before they reach that age of 59 and a half by allowing that early withdrawal without being subject to the normal 10% penalty. So it's a really nice option, but it does have some strings attached to it. And we'll talk about that and figure out how to best utilize a 72T and what that money might be useful for.
Well, let's describe it. What is the rule? How does one use it? And what are the conditions or gotchas, as I like to call them in the context of it?
Sure. There are some requirements, and the requirements are a little bit, some people might say they tie you down a little bit too much. They don't offer a lot of flexibility. So you must take the distribution for at least 5 years or until you reach the age of 59 and a half, whichever comes later. Also, the amount of the payment is calculated through 3 different IRS approved methods. You have to think of it as like a small, a medium, and a large payout option. So keep in mind also that you will be taxed on the amount that you withdraw, and that varies depending on your current tax bracket. So when I calculated my 72T, I chose the option that provided the largest annual payout, and that is the amortization method. That amount is fixed annually, so every December now, I will receive a $20,000 distribution. So it comes magically from my IRA that was created by transferring $300,000 from my 401k to that IRA. Now, interestingly, this was done on December 29th of last year.
Right,
so
I'm gonna pause right there. Are y'all understanding what he's saying? You keeping up with what he's saying, right? Let me know. Put your questions in the comment section, right? He's 47. He's already accessing his account.
it's not been that long. So the money in that IRA continues to be invested in index funds. It has already grown more than $60,000 since I took out that $20,000 distribution on December 29th. The other calculation methods are known as the minimum distribution. That's the lowest possible amount that can be withdrawn, and that's based on life expectancy. And the third calculation method is called the annuitization method. It offers a fixed annual payout with the amount falling somewhere between the other two calculation options. So when calculating your 72T, you'll be given the option of using an interest rate that is not more than the greater of 5% or 120% of the federal midterm rate, which is published in the IRS revenue rulings. And that's for either of the 2 months initially preceding the month in which you get that first payment. So you can either use a 5% option when you decide what interest rate to use, or 120% of the federal midterm rate that's published in the IRS revenue rulings. So it does give you a little bit of flexibility in the amount that you'll be able to take out based on those interest rates that you choose.
Okay, so let's put ourselves in let's empathize with the folks that are driving their car right now listening to this, or at the gym, and who just totally got lost with all of those, everything you just said there. So let's zoom out. I've got a 401k, right? Let's say it's got 500k in it, right? That type of person is probably a good candidate to begin considering this, right? I'm 40 years old and I want to access the money early. There are 3 rules, small, medium, and large, that I can tap into in order to take that money out of the 401k. When I take money out of the 401k, if I don't use one of these 3 rules, I'm going to pay taxes on the payout. So if I withdraw 20K, I'm going to increase my ordinary income by $20,000 in that calendar year. And I'm also going to pay a 10% early withdrawal tax on that money. Now, if I use one of these 3 rules, I don't pay the 10% penalty tax on early withdrawal for the 401k. And that's fundamentally why we're going to talk about the 72T and these rules. Is that right, Eric?
Yes, that is absolutely correct. And you need to make sure that you do the calculations correctly, or you could be penalized by the IRS. So it's definitely worth having your accountant verify your calculations if you're.
All right, there you go. Three different ways to pull it out. Again, this is not financial advice. These are just things I've learned along the way. I thought this was interesting because a lot of people put money into their 401ks and their IRAs, and they were thinking they gotta wait to 79 and a half. And I'm saying you don't have to, but you also need to ask the person who set up the 401k if they have the option or that structure in there for you to pull out early. Now, oftentimes at the smaller companies, they kind of got a little bit more flexibility where they can go add it. At the larger companies, they probably don't have that flexibility. So you need to find out during the process of interviewing if this is an option, because you may just dump some money in your 401k and be like, I'll access that later on, right? I'll access that when I hit 45, 46. I want to tap into that. I'ma still work, but at least I have some supplemental or whatnot. And you may not want to tap in. You may be like, I don't want to do that until I'm 59 and a half. But again, it depends on how you see yourself in the future. All right, let's go.
Comfortable with your own math there. And one other thing that you need to keep in mind, Scott, is that if you do need to change that calculation, the only change permitted would be a one-time change, and that's from the fixed amortization method to the minimum distribution method. And that change, again, is available only one time, but that lets you drop it from, in my case, the maximum payout down to the minimum payout. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility, but you still have to take it for that period of 5 years or until you reach 59 and a half, whichever is greater.
So this is an inflexible decision and requires very careful long-term planning to back into, right? And when we zoom way out at the strategy level, I will preface the entire discussion we're about to have saying, I don't love this as the plan. Like if I'm starting over from zero and I'm thinking about early retirement, I don't love the plan of, well, let me stockpile a bunch of wealth in the 401k and then figure out a way to use it downstream. It can work in some instances, like you're a high income earner and you know you're locked in for 20 years. Let's say you're in a government job, for example, and the pension's going to go in there and you're going to stick it out the whole way through. Okay, then you can maybe make a case for a very long-term, clear-cut plan. But for most, you can avoid the rigidity of these rules by simply building more wealth outside of the retirement accounts over a 2-decade period and have more flexibility.
Now, I'm going to pause it there because some people are not disciplined enough. And you may need a plan like an IRA or 401k to help build your nest egg. Let me ask this, and you can put in the chat yes or no. Not a one or a two, put in a yes or a no. Are you embarrassed to be a 401k or W-2 millionaire? Put yes or no in the chat. Are you embarrassed? If someone asked you, were you a millionaire? And you say, yes, I'm a millionaire in my 401k. Are you embarrassed by that? Are you embarrassed to be an IRA millionaire? I'm just curious. Would someone know that you are a 401k millionaire? Would someone even know? Right? And I asked that question because you don't know how people made their millions. You don't know how they became a millionaire. You don't even know what type of millionaire they are. All you know is, Joe, we did it. We did it, Joe. That's all you know. We did it, Joe. That's all you know.
Do you agree with that, Eric? Just to preface a lot of the things we're about to discuss in the context of using this?
Yeah, that would be brilliant, Scott. Unfortunately, I knew nothing about early retirement and the financial independence community. So I have been socking away $2.5 million into my 401k, which was fantastic until I realized, wait a minute, I have all this money and I can't use it.
Stay tuned for more on how Eric pulled his retirement funds early with 72T after this quick break.
Welcome back to the Bigger Pockets Money Podcast. Let's jump right in.
And that's perfect, right? This is not a beating up Eric point. This is saying, we're not saying, hey, design a strategy here, listener, where you're going to put $2.5 million in your retirement account, not have much else outside of that, and then plan to use this to access it. That's not a plan any of the three of us would recommend. However, we recognize the reality that many people are in that position because that's where people automatically invested for many years. The market's done a good run for the last 12, 15 years. And if you've been at this for a while, you could have a big pile of money in there, and that's what you have. And so how do we access it to fuel early retirement? That's what we're discussing this. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Again, for someone like me that's got a well-funded 401k and didn't realize that I was going to be retiring early, this is an amazing option for me specifically, other than doing Roth conversion ladders, which take several years. I can access this money now. I can spend it while I'm still young enough to enjoy it. Also, it's going to reduce the required minimum distributions when I'm in my 70s. So it's taking care of a little bit of that future tax money that's waiting for me, that big tax bomb that's going to hit when I'm in.
And like the people say, taxes are typically go up as we get older, right? So what he's saying is, whatever the tax is going to be in the future, that's not going to affect me like that.
70s. So this will lessen that a little bit. And I also, I started a second 72T this week. So I will be taking 2 distributions each year now. So that is something I'm pretty excited about. And again, that's going to take money straight from my retirement account. It will go into it'll be sent to my checking account, and will be a distribution that will come in the beginning of September.
Awesome. Well, with all that framing and context out of the way now, actually, one more piece of framing and context here. There's a great article written by the Mad Fientist called How to Access Retirement Funds Early that I think is an excellent overview of the way to do this. And I highly encourage everyone listening to go out and read that. You just type into Google how to access retirement funds early, or you go to the Mad Fientist and check out that page. That's a great way to frame the discussion about how to use this in a broader sense. Today with Eric, we're going to really zoom in on the 72T here and how that's going to work.
And it's not the Mad Scientist. It is called the Mad Fientist, FIEN. TIST, the Mad Fientist. There's the article that he's talking about. It just got updated on June the 6th of 2024. Let me show you this. And so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is the article he's talking about right here. How to access retirement funds early. It's called the Mad Fientist. And he has a Roth ladder conversion and so forth and so on. And here's the 72T with the payments that he was talking about as well too. So I'll probably go through this next week, probably make a show about this and compare this to the IRS rules as well too. Let me know if you're interested. You don't have to wait to you're 59 to retire and access funds, 59 and a half to access those funds. I'm just showing you different ways that you can utilize this. And also, there's nothing in here that says you can't still work after you access these funds to do something else, right? There's nothing out here that says, oh my goodness, Mario, you cannot work. It's not that. It's not Yahtzee. You can still work after this. You can still go and say, you know what? I've set myself up a budget. I think in this, we won't finish this, but long story short, his income that he gets from his 401k and from his rentals is around about $95,000 to $110,000 a year, where he is more than likely, I think it was like he was $40,000 to $60,000 liquid out of this. So his mortgage gets paid for from his rentals, and then he kept his outgoing debt low, and then also he gets about, like I say, $40,000 to $60,000 liquid, where he then turns around and takes that $40,000 to $60,000 and he invests that $40,000 to $60,000 into something else where it makes money for him as well too, and also able to live off of it. I don't know if you all saw this one too right here.
So I still maintain a 50,000.
This right here, 200K a year and early retirement in 10 years by being a lazy investor. That one's a good one as well too. I've looked at a lot of videos. I've done a lot of research because I just don't believe, you can't tell me that I sock away money in my 401k and I gotta wait till I'm 60 to get it. And the answer is you don't have to. So 72T, rule of 55, but you need to understand how it works and if your plan that your company has allows it. So those are some nuances there. I appreciate y'all coming out today. I know we want to finish that video or whatnot, but I hope you enjoyed the content, right? And I hope you also understand, like, listen, you don't need to be an executive to make 200, 300, 400, 500,000. I went through jobs today on purpose, literally on purpose, to showcase what it could be for you. I mean, like, think about it. 200,000 for 10 years, easy, easy money. So the choice is on you where you want to be at in life. A lot of people that are like 25 to 30 right now, y'all can be at a job making 200,000 and you've grossed in 5 years, you would have grossed $1 million. You probably would have access to $500,000 of that on top of your investments. But think about if you did 200,000 for 10 years, you'd be a millionaire more than likely before that. You could have a net worth of $1 million, because by the time you buy a house and you put 20% down and a duplex or what have you, you can make money that way. You can make money on investing. You can make money in your brokerage account. You can make money on royalties. You can make money on gold, silver. It's so many different ways to become, I don't know, maybe your family first millionaire, or maybe your family fifth millionaire, or maybe you don't care. But at the end of the day, make sure that you're setting yourself up for your older years where you're not relied on someone else to come over and take care of you, or you're at the mercy of someone else letting them stay in their home or whatnot. And I understand things happen, but put money up for a rainy day, put money up for to survive, put money up for when someone may have to ask you for something. You could be like, yo, check this out. I got a property. Go stay there. You don't have to stay with me or what have you. I'm just trying to show you different ways where you can utilize your skill sets to have the end results that you want. I'm not saying you're gonna be the person that make the $100 million. I'm not saying that you won't do it, right? I'm just giving you options. All right, y'all be safe. And have a good weekend.